Hello. I wish you a wonderful good morning, Svenja. And I'm really happy that you are here with me on the Water Means Life podcast. How do you feel this morning?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Thank you, Clea, for having me.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, we already sat in my kitchen and had so interesting topics that we couldn't stop to talk. So I would like to introduce you a little bit because we both have medical backgrounds, and I think this is why we click so good together. So you are a veterinary doctor, Mrs. Svenja Maier, with a scientific background in immunology and biochemistry. And since 2022, you have been working as a medical journalist with a focus on holistic and root cause medicine. And your mission is to make complex medical knowledge accessible and to help people live healthier and more fulfilling lives in the long term. Your main interests include orthomolecular medicine, which you have to explain to me because I have no
Okay.
clue what that is.
Yeah, sure.
Environmental toxins, chronic infections, nutrition, and gut health. Is that right so far? Yes?
Yes, that was amazing. Yeah, and automolecular medicine means just how micronutrients, such as vitamins or minerals or trace minerals, work within the body and what what are the optimal levels that you need to have ideal health,
Oh,
basically.
perfect. So that means we're talking about the really small micronutrients that we need in order to function well, right?
Yes, to
Yeah.
support all biochemical functions within the body.
Oh, that's super interesting. Would you say that in general we might not have enough of them in our today's environment and nutrition?
Yeah, so probably everyone is depleted in micronutrients. So one reason is that our food nowadays does not contain enough levels
Yeah.
because of intense agriculture and many more reasons. And also that we have more environmental toxins, and this also leads to a higher demand within the body.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Yes, and today our topic is biofilms, biofilms in pipes and in water filtration systems. You brought me actually to this topic because I wasn't really aware of it, and then I started to investigate a little bit, and it was like, ooh, this is really a
Yeah.
challenge, isn't it? Could you explain a little bit what biofilms are and where they start to accumulate?
Yeah, sure. So biofilms are like colonies of different microorganisms, such as bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and even parasites or viruses. And these microorganisms are like embedded within a slimy mucus layer, which they produce by themselves. And this mucus layer protects the microorganisms, for example, from cleaning agents and also from the immune system, because biofilms also exist within the body, and antibiotics or other antimicrobial things.
So they
And
are basically undestroyable. Is that what you say?
so, no, they are not undestroyable, but they are really difficult to remove or to treat. And they can form wherever like moisture and nutrients are present. So, like water pipes are an ideal environment, basically. And they can also, be found, for example, in kitchen or in the bathroom. And yeah, in the human body in different places, for example, in the mouth, in the intestines, but also like in every other tissue, even in the brain.
In the brain.
Yeah, in the brain.
Wow. Okay. So where shall we start? Shall we start with what happens to the water pipes after the water has been cleaned in the sewage plants? I mean, we in Portugal here, we always complain that the water smells of chlorine, but it looks like it's needed so that these microorganisms don't overtake the water pipes. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I'm not sure if this really prevents the formation of biofilms, since like chlorine is, to my knowledge, not a biofilm disruptor. So maybe it reduces the amount of microorganisms that are present for sure, and this also decreases the amount of microorganisms that can like start to grow a biofilm,
Ah, yeah.
but they are not like completely eliminated.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I also read up, that it basically reduces maybe the risk of them forming, but that it's very hard to tackle them once they are there. Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens if part of these biofilms start to wander through the pipes and end up on our in our tap? What would you say is the consequence of that?
Yeah, so I mean, the microorganisms within the biofilm, they consistently produce, for example, different types of toxins. So the bacteria, they produce for so-called lipopolysaccharides. This is like a particle of the cell membrane of different types of bacteria, so-called gram-negative bacteria. And this is really a strong inflammatory agent. And these toxins are released continuously into the water. And so they end up, if you drink the tap water, they also end up within our bodies. And this is like a consistent inflammatory trigger to our immune system. And
So just for me to understand, so what you're saying is that they end up in our tap water if we want it or not, and no matter what the sewage plants are doing. Is that right?
yeah, so the biofilms, they really consistently release toxins and also microorganisms to the drinking water or to the tap water. And yeah, other toxins are, for example, fungal toxins. And yeah, and within the biofilm, also other stuff accumulates, such as microplastics or heavy metals, for example.
Yes. Wow. This brings even me, who is investigating water since several years now, really to a blah. Doesn't sound really nice level.
No.
um, so the common problem is basically we don't taste it, or would we like would you say that when there is biofilm present and all these toxins, would we detect them with our senses?
Rather not. I mean, if the water is really heavily polluted, which is not the case in, like, for example, European countries normally, yeah, then you would like smell or taste something. But in general, you can't really detect it with your senses. And another problem is if you would test the water in a laboratory, yeah, you might probably find some microorganisms, but you really can't say anything about the biofilms because the, the microorganisms, they are embedded in the biofilm and they are not like released all the time. So your sample could also be falsely negative. And also the amount of like microorganisms present in the water does not reflect how many biofilms are in the pipes.
So basically we have two threats that come with the water. Yeah, the microorganisms that are freely flowing through the water and are present. And I think these are really the only ones who are tested by the laboratories when we talk about what kind of samples have to be taken in order to make sure that the water isn't not immediately poisoning us. But you say when they are in the biofilm, it is really hard to detect which kind of microorganisms we have there, or fungi, or like what was the other one that you said?
Yeah, so mostly it's bacteria, different types of bacteria. So in water pipes, for example, Pseudomonas, Enterococcus, E. coli, or even Legionella. And yeah, so bacteria, fungi, but later on, also parasites or viruses can be found within biofilms. They are not the ones who like form the biofilm at first. These are normally the bacteria or fungi, but they are incorporated into the biofilm later on. So it's like a community of different microorganisms, not just a singular strain.
Yeah. I mean, we always say that our tap water is not really safe anymore, and I still believe this is true, but I also get a feeling of how complicated it is to even make water that is not immediately, causing diarrhea or something. Because when you sometimes see what ends up in the sewage plants, like really brown,
Yeah.
brown water, and they make it drinkable after that. So they already do a really good job. It's just more like we have so many components today in the environment that have an impact on the water quality that basically individual solutions for water treatment seem to be the only way that we really can tackle this problem. Am I right with that?
Yeah, so I would also say this because, I mean, yeah, of course, the like facilities who clean the wastewater, they really do a great job and they remove a lot of stuff. But there are so many toxins present nowadays, it can't be removed all. And from lab testings, we know what stuff is present in tap water. So really the only thing you can do is to filter it. And I mean, buying water is also not an alternative. I mean, buying plastic bottles is not good since they release microplastics and other toxins. And also what I learned recently that buying glass bottles is also not a better option because it also contains microplastics from the brushes they are using to clean the water bottles. And it could even contain more microplastic than plastic bottles. So,
It's
yeah,
hilarious. Yeah.
it's not safe.
Yes. Okay, so if we are looking in filters that people can buy to really clean their drinking water and the water they are cooking and making tea and coffee with, you told me in our last conversation that the charcoal filters that many people are using, like the filters that, for example, the simple jars, yeah, where you have a charcoal cartridge that is hanging in the water, can they tackle this problem? Will they resolve the biofilms?
So likely not. I mean, they are removing stuff from the water, but also from the results we saw from you testing many different water samples, we saw that these filters are not really effective. And also, a problem is that they are getting contaminated with microorganisms and that there are like also biofilms forming within the filter, even. So yeah, I don't think it's a good or safe solution. And this could be really like breeding chambers for microorganisms if you're not really taking care of it.
Yeah, I remember that. I know a friend of ours is still using that. And when the temperature is like rose here up to nearly 40 degrees, I told them, please at least put this thing in the fridge and don't let it also stand with these temperatures outside. So it can be potentially dangerous, right? Because we don't know how many bacteria is growing there. And also there is not really a control mechanism that tells you now the filter has reached its limits before it
Yes.
starts to really release the stuff it has binded before into the water again, right?
Yeah, that's also another potential problem. So yeah.
And would you say that there are some of these bacteria that could really like cause immediate problems like diarrhea or stomach pain or any of this? Or when you were talking about what was it? Pseudomonas. They are the ones that are causing lung infections.
Yes, right. So, I mean, it really depends on how many of these bacteria are present in the water. And normally the levels are not really high. So, if you are like a general healthy individual, you probably don't see any symptoms in the short term. But it is like a constant yeah, trigger to the body. So, for example, you're getting all these potentially pathogenic germs into your digestive system. This could lead to dysbiosis, like that the microorganisms in the gut are not healthy anymore, for example. And also, it is like more work for the body, for the immune system, and it decreases or increases the amount of inflammation in the body. So it's yeah, just a constant negative thing that the body has to tackle. And
Yes, and
if you are like
yes.
immune compromised, yeah, as an adult or a child or elderly people, this could even be a more severe problem.
So would you say that a high quality filtration system is like the first barrier against these kind of inputs that it has into our body, and that it has really a severe or it that it is really something that people should think about in order to maintain or regain a certain level of health?
Yeah, I think it's really the foundation because water is the most important, yeah, nutrient we need. So
Yes.
it's like even before you think about food, you should like get the water right, I think. And I mean, I was for a longer time, I was thinking that I was safe with my water bottles out of class, but yeah, that is also not true, as I explained earlier. And so I think that really a high quality filtration system, like a reverse osmosis system, which is the gold standard, yeah, should be in every household.
Yes, absolutely. And what you told me before when we met the first time, you said that you were looking for a long time into water filtration systems, and you still didn't decide for any of them because they all came with pitfalls and downfalls. Could you explain a little bit what is really good to look at when we are talking about water filtration systems? I mean, you can buy reverse osmosis filter for 200 euros. Do they do the job?
Yeah, so the things that you should look out for when you are buying a filtration system is, for example, that it does not have a water tank with a lot of like standing water,
Yes.
because this could be also an area within the filter where microorganisms could grow. So it should produce the water freshly when you want to drink something.
Hmm.
And another thing is it should have, it should include aspects to like remove germs, and also, for example, like an UV disinfection. And of course, a reverse osmosis filtration system has different layers of filtration, and it also really removes like everything, also the germs in the first place. And it should also have something that prevents it from getting recontaminated through the tap output, because this could also be a problem. And another thing, it should have no plastic in contact with the uh, filtered water. So should really be like stainless steel and high quality.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I what I was really shocked sometimes, I'm testing a lot of waters, and I have really seen some reverse osmosis filters where the water comes out so bad that you can literally say that this thing is not doing much. And the problem is that people feel safe because they have, of course, investigated and they have tried to look through the jungle of water filters in the internet. And it is, I would say, nearly impossible to gain really reliable information because nearly every I mean, even the cartridge filter with the carbon filter tells you, we are removing 99% of organic materials, of chlorine, of this and that. And we can't prove that this is true. And I really feel that, because we are talking about a topic that is so crucial for our health, it really needs a lot of information and good foundation of knowledge that you can distinguish between, okay, this is maybe just marketing and this is a real system that is promising and keeping the promises that they make. So for
Yeah,
how many years were
yes.
you looking into filter systems?
Several years. So yeah. And yeah, so I never really decided for one until like I met you and I learned about the filter and so the testing.
Yes.
And yeah, it's not easy to find a good filtration system.
Yeah. What would you say is, when we are talking about biofilms, when once they are in the body, what do you do with them then? I mean, we most probably all have them inside, right?
Yeah, so I mean, not all biofilms are pathological. So it's really something that is naturally present in the body. But if they are growing and they are not controlled anymore by the immune system, then it's getting pathological.
Hmm.
And yeah, so and for removing biofilms, this is really a complex process, and there are different steps involved that you need to do. So yeah, one thing when you are, so this is really something that you are doing in a holistic health treatment with a practitioner normally, and not by yourself, because this is like relevant for nearly everyone who has chronic health issues. So it's really likely that there are biofilms present. We can later on also talk about what health conditions or symptoms could be related to this. And for removing the biofilms within the body, it is important to take biofilm disruptors. These can be enzymes such as serrapeptase or lumbrokinase, for example. And there are also different herbs that are functioning as a biofilm disruptor. I think oregano oil is a typical example. Also, clove oil, and there are, or artemisia, for example. There are
Hmm.
many different herbs actually, and some of them also have antimicrobial aspects, such as oregano or artemisia. And there are many more herbs that have antimicrobial functions. So you need to take this biofilm disruptor and the antimicrobial components at the same time. What you also need to do is to take some binders that are like binding the toxins that are released when you disrupt the biofilm, and you need to support your immune system and your detoxification processes, such as like the lymphatic system. So drinking a lot, moving, maybe doing something like dry brushing. You need to have regular bowel movements, and so on. So this is really a complex process with many steps involved. And it is also a long-term treatment. So it's not just done in a week or so. So it could take a year, and you really need to take these substances for a long time, normally. And yeah, because the biofilms are, if you, they are not really completely removed, the pathological ones, they can regrow easily. So it's typical, for example, for people starting a treatment, feeling better, but then relapsing. This can also be a sign for biofilms. And of course, you need really to strengthen the body, giving the micronutrients that are necessary so that the immune system and everything else is getting strong enough so that the microorganisms can be controlled in the future.
Wow. So this sounds like a really profound treatment. For that, you need really patience and a lot of
Yes.
knowledge, and a practitioner who helps you with that. You are basically also talking from experience, aren't you? Because you said you had some health issues before and you started to tackle them. So when you say, w- how do you feel today compared to before, and what are the symptoms that people should look out for if they think they could have some pathogenic microfilms in their bodies, biofilm?
Yeah, so there are like many different symptoms or diseases that can be related to biofilms. So, for example, starting in the gut, with chronic gut issues, people with like inflammatory bowel syndrome or SIBO, like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or with food intolerances, or just with digestive issues, pain, and something like this. It's really likely that there are biofilms present in the gut.
Hmm.
Then there are also issues, for example, like autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto. This could also have connections with biofilms.
Oh,
Then chronic pain, chronic joint pain can be related with biofilms, and with organisms, for example, like Borrelia or Bartonella. They can have many more. They can cause many more different types of symptoms. And for example, Bartonella is a bacteria that can form biofilms in really a lot of different tissues, and can also be related with fatigue, for example, with fatigue-like symptoms. So also brain fog and chronic fatigue are really likely to be connected to chronic infections and therefore also with biofilms. And what's more, like, of course, issues in the oral cavity. So parodontosis and plaque, these are biofilms. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have like chronic gingivitis or other issues in the mouth, there are microbes and biofilms present.
Oh, wow.
This
It's
could also,
interesting that you say
yeah.
that because I know that I had parodontosis for maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years. And when I started to drink our true water after, I think, a year or so, it disappeared by itself. So just by, cleansing the mouth with this clean water, that already took away, well, most probably a big part of my health issue, interestingly enough.
Yeah, this is so important. And this is also something to add, of course, to the treatment. So really the foundation, getting the foundations right, like having good quality drinking water, eating
Yeah.
high quality food, having sleep in a good amount. So these are, of course, the foundations that you should get right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like for coming back to other issues, also which could be typical, like chronic sinusitis, for example, also biofilms in the sinuses, when you have like a lot of slimy excretions, for example, this could also be an issue. And also even Alzheimer's could be related, but there was like a scientific publication that found Borrelia, like bacteria, that were connected with the amyloid plaque in the brain because this is produced to it is like antimicrobial and a reaction of the brain when there are bacteria present. So it's of course not the only cause for this, but it could also be a connection. So
Wow. So from your point of view, would that be good for everybody to test and see what kind of possible biofilms they have in the body? How would they do that?
yeah, and this is another struggle because the same problem as in the water pipes. These lab tests could be falsely negative,
Hmm.
so it is really hard to detect. And what functional practitioners are often doing, they are really looking closely to the symptoms the patient has. So if you have chronic issues, if they are maybe sometimes a bit better and then worse again, these are like typical symptoms for chronic infections involved, and mostly you start a treatment without the lab tests. What you could do are like antibody tests for some of these pathogens.
Hmm.
However, it also does not really say that this is the reason for your symptoms because they could be positive, for example, for some viruses or for like bacteria like Bartonella, but many people are positive for them. And this does not mean that they are causing health issues
Okay.
because they are like present everywhere and
Yeah.
nearly everybody gets infected at some point. So yeah, it's really important to closely look to the symptoms that you are having, and the lab tests are sadly not really specific often, and yeah, it's maybe better to save the money at some point.
Okay. So we are back to we look at the symptoms that people have and not so much as at the laboratory things, right?
Yes.
Like old-fashioned doctors were much better at than than maybe today practical medicine, right? Where we so
Yeah,
much
because yeah,
rely on just we are reading something and doing this and that at that exam, but hardly touching the people who we are in contact with. So it's really very, very interesting what you are pointing out here. What would bring me to the next question. Animals could have the same, right?
yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's basically the same thing. And Yeah, and I mean, the reasons why this happens is that we are not really living in a way that supports our biology nowadays. So the food is really different, the lifestyle is really different, and this, yeah, we are depleted with micronutrients, we have a lot of stress. Are all things that lead to a not really good functioning immune system. And yeah, and chronic infections can rise and can yeah grow to a level that is really causing problems. And I mean, these terms, they are really present everywhere, but it depends on how you're living and how your internal environment is, to decide whether it's becoming a problem or not, basically.
Wow. From your personal experience, how much better do you feel nowadays after you have gone through this treatment compared to a few years ago? What would you
Yeah, a
say?
lot. So it's really a long-term project, because, for example, I had issues with my thyroid health and gut issues and a lot of skin issues, all related with like chronic inflammation. And one topic that is also really important, is the health of the jawbone, I would say, and many people are not aware of it. So if you had tooth extractions, especially in younger years, the wisdom tooth, it is really common that the bone does not heal properly because conventional dentistry does not give micronutrients such as vitamin D, vitamin K, omega-3, and more to the patients to support bone healing. And if you are like depleted with these nutrients, the bone probably does not heal. And then there are areas in the jaw that are necrotic. You can also say osteolysen. And these areas are also perfect for microorganisms to grow there.
So
And also,
on X-ray, you see this like a kind of small, they nearly look like cavities, right? They look like darker shadows
um,
around the bone or a tooth.
yeah, but on conventional X-rays, can't really detect those. So you
Okay.
really need a 3D scan of the jaw.
Okay.
And yeah, and I had four of these. It's called cavitations. So I did not have anything in my mouth. I had healthy teeth, everything good, no symptoms in my mouth or jaw. But I, yeah, had all these chronic health problems, and I listened to many podcasts, and then I came across Dr. Dominik Nischwitz. He's a German biological dentist, and he explained how these cavitations form after wisdom tooth removal. And so I thought, okay, this could be a reason for my health issues. And so I went to a biological dentist, and I actually had four of these. And I had the surgery last year, and since then my health really improved drastically. So
Wow.
really, I can recommend to everyone to go to a biological dentist and check the jaw.
Yeah. When you say you had an operation, what did they do exactly?
Yeah, so they opened the spots where the wisdom teeth were removed, and they removed all this like degenerated material, and then they inserted PRF, which stands for platelet-rich fibrin. This is created from my own blood. This is this has a high amount of growth factors and other things for healing, and they implanted this into the cleaned wound. And they also had many different antimicrobial therapies, for example, an endo laser, therapy, and more.
Wow.
And
So
of
it
course, the micronutrients
so it really
for
makes
bone
sense
healing.
when you choose a dentist to look at somebody who looks holistically, not only at his profession, but also maybe would ask you, do you have any chronic health issues that could be related to teeth, right?
Yeah, so it's really important because the mouth is really related to everything in the body. And
Yeah.
so even chronic gut issues can be caused by these cavitations in the jaw.
Wow. Amazing how our body functions as a whole, huh? And we
Yes.
have specialists for everything now, like, and not looking at the holistic approach anymore so
Yeah,
much.
and this is really a problem because there is like no separation and everything is connected.
Yeah. And from what you told me, you are strongly going into this direction to learn more about all these togetherness of how the body functions, and you want in the future also to advise people when they call you to work with them and see what kind of problems could lie underneath a certain health issue, right?
Yeah, so this is really my dream outcome, yeah, to be able to really guide people on their health journey and to help them with analyzing lab results and with like deciding what supplements are necessary at the moment or make sense for them, and also all these other aspects to holistic health.
Yeah, I think there's so much needed, because for my what I found, even the best doctors who start their career with a lot of passion and they really want to help people. When you are working in a hospital and you have shift work and you are not very well paid and you work long hours, the capacity to read and stay up to date with the newest science and not just following the last pharmaceutical protocol that already might be a few years old, it is so hard, right? I mean, you have to be really very passionate about what you are doing in order to, with all these challenges that you have in for example a hospital life, or even when you have a practice, to really stay up to date with the newest development. And nobody is to blame when they just do what they have learned 10 or 15 years ago, because it is so hard to take time to to really stay on top with
Yeah,
everything.
that's really hard. So you never know everything, and there are so many new things coming out all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just like need to learn all the time, basically, but also it's okay to not know everything and to, yeah, to say, yeah, you're not the specialist for maybe this certain problem, and to recommend maybe someone else that can help more in that part.
Lovely. Yeah, I think we will have a lot of interesting conversations in the future. We just wanted to start somewhere, right? Is there anything you want to add in terms of biofilms, treatments, knowledge?
Yeah, so just as a summary, so I mean, biofilms are present everywhere and they can become pathogenic when the immune system is not working well. And the treatment is really long term and complex, but as a foundation, it is important to eat natural food, to include herbs, for example, in your food that have these antimicrobial yeah, features and secondary plant compounds, for example. And of course, to have healthy drinking water, it's really a foundation. And yeah, so get the foundations right, and yeah, some of the problems will resolve by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for our listeners, just to tell you a little bit, the water filtration system we are both using is, from my perspective, the best one that you can find on the market. I have investigated into hundreds of different systems, and reverse osmosis is really like the gold standard. But there again, you have a lot of different systems, very cheap ones, a lot of many systems are now really built in Asia, so you don't really know what the materials they're using, despite not mentioning the working conditions and environmental aspects. And our system is really taking care of the holistic approach to water. So we are using stainless steel after the reverse osmosis. We have other components that are taking care of the structure and the vitality of the water, the right pH level. And it is a very holistic investment in your health for yeah, a very long time. And as you said, Svenja, it's really a foundation for our health because we consist of 70% water.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so we will blend in your website and everything if people want to get in contact with you for your future consultations. And I'm looking forward to see you soon. And maybe put in the comments what kind of topics you want to like to talk about from a specialist in orthomolecular medicine, where I know now what it what it means. Thank you so much, Svenja, for taking time out of your busy schedule, and looking forward to meet you soon again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you.
It was very nice. I think we have a lot to share with our public. Bye.
Bye.